My name is Jessica, and this story is something I never thought I would share publicly, but after sitting with it for a long time, I realized that talking about it might help others who've gone through similar experiences with stepfamilies, boundaries, and misunderstandings. Sometimes the most embarrassing or awkward things that happen in our homes become the moments that teach us the biggest lessons, not only about ourselves but about the people we live with. This is the story of the day my stepfather walked into my room without knocking, how it changed the way I saw him, and how it forced our family to redefine boundaries we didn't even realize we needed. I was 16 when my mom remarried. Her name is Linda, and she's the type of mom who always tried to hold our family together even when things were falling apart. My biological dad had been out of the picture for years, and honestly, by that time, I didn't even expect him to call on birthdays anymore. So when my mom met a man named Mark, I was skeptical but also curious. Mark was kind, patient, and he seemed to care about my mom in a way that I hadn't seen anyone care for her before. After dating for almost 2 years, they got married, and suddenly, I had a stepfather. At first, Mark and I had an awkward relationship. I was a teenager, full of attitude, and the last thing I wanted was a new adult trying to tell me what to do. But Mark didn't come into my life trying to be my dad. He made it clear from the beginning that he wasn't here to replace anyone. He wanted to be a support system. He wanted to be part of the family without pushing too hard. I respected that, even if I didn't say it out loud. Our house was small, with bedrooms right next to each other. My room was my sanctuary. As a teenager, it was the one space where I could close the door, shut out the world, and just be myself. I would spend hours journaling, reading, or just listening to music. It was my safe place. And like most teenagers, I valued my privacy above almost anything else. That brings me to the day that changed everything. It was a Saturday afternoon, and my mom had gone out shopping with her sister. I had just come out of the shower and thrown on an oversized t-shirt, the kind that practically works as a dress. I was lying on my bed, scrolling through my phone, enjoying the quiet. The house was peaceful, and I thought I had the afternoon to myself. What I didn't realize was that Mark had been working on fixing something in the hallway and needed to check the power outlet in my room. Before I even had a chance to react, the doorknob turned, and suddenly, Mark walked in. I froze. He froze. It was one of those moments where time seems to slow down, and everything in your body screams that this is the most awkward thing that could possibly happen. I wasn't indecent, but the fact that I was only wearing a big shirt made me feel incredibly exposed. I could feel my cheeks turning bright red, and the silence between us felt like it lasted forever. Mark's eyes widened, and he immediately turned away, stammering, "Oh my gosh, Jessica, I'm so sorry. I should have knocked." He shut the door quickly, leaving me sitting there, mortified. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to scream at him for barging in. Part of me wanted to cry from embarrassment. And another part of me knew that it had just been an honest mistake. But when you're 16 and already sensitive about everything, an incident like that feels like the end of the world. For the rest of the afternoon, I avoided him. I stayed locked in my room, headphones on, pretending like I didn't exist. My mom came home later that day and acted like nothing was wrong, but inside, I was still replaying the scene in my head over and over. The next morning, Mark knocked on my door before I even got out of bed. His voice was calm but serious. "Jessica, can we talk for a minute?" I hesitated before opening the door. He stood there holding 2 mugs of hot chocolate, one for me and one for him. That was his way of making peace. We sat down in the living room, and he looked me straight in the eye. "I want to apologize," he said. "What happened yesterday was completely my fault. I should have knocked. I wasn't thinking, and I know it made you uncomfortable. I promise it will never happen again." Hearing him say that meant more than I expected. He didn't brush it off. He didn't make me feel silly for being embarrassed. He owned his mistake. And in that moment, I realized that respect isn't just about big things, it's about little things like knocking on a door, giving someone space, and acknowledging when you've crossed a boundary. That conversation opened the door, no pun intended, to a lot of other important talks. We ended up sitting there for over an hour, discussing what boundaries mattered to me as a teenager. I told him I needed privacy, especially in my room. I told him I didn't like when people went through my things, even if it was to clean or organize. And I told him that sometimes, I just needed to be left alone without questions. Mark listened to all of it. He didn't interrupt. He didn't argue. He nodded and said, "That's fair. Thank you for telling me." From then on, things changed between us. He always knocked, sometimes so dramatically that it made me laugh. If I didn't answer right away, he'd wait. He respected my space, and in return, I started respecting him more too. Over time, that small incident became the foundation for a stronger relationship. What had started as one of the most embarrassing days of my life turned into one of the most important lessons about family and communication. I learned that sometimes, the people who enter our lives as step this or step that aren't trying to take over, they're trying to find a place where they belong, just like we are. Looking back, I can see how much that moment shaped the rest of my teenage years. It made me realize that it's okay to demand boundaries, and it's okay to feel uncomfortable and speak up about it. It also showed me that real respect is earned, not forced. Now, years later, I can tell this story with a smile. Mark and I have a solid relationship, built on mutual trust. We laugh about that day sometimes, and he'll joke, "Remember the time I almost got kicked out of the house for not knocking?" It's funny now, but at the time, it was life-changing for me. The truth is, families aren't perfect. Step-families especially come with their own set of challenges. But awkward, uncomfortable moments don't have to break us apart. They can be the very things that bring us closer if we're willing to talk about them honestly. So if you're listening to this story and you've ever had an embarrassing moment in your family, just know you're not alone. We all have them. And sometimes, they're the moments that teach us the most about love, respect, and what it means to live together under one roof.